The Federal Reserve has created this false idea that everything is okay in the economy. Because they pump up the stock market, it has given people the sense that everything is just fine. Let's ignore all of the real economic indicators so that we can go on with our merry lives. However, that is just not the case. I'm going to read you documentation showing you specifically that they are continuing on with their what they call accommodative policies. Now, everything must be fine because the Q2 GDP revised up to 4.6%. That's right, despite all the real indicators here, they are saying that it's up 4.6%, a really high number considering how bad things really are. And what they said was that this momentum is going to give them strong growth for the rest of the year. I'll tie that into the next article in a moment. Let's take a look at what they said at the very last line. A harsh winter caused the biggest drop in activity since the Great Recession. Yes, that's right. That's how foolish they think you are when they could say that a so-called harsh winter was the reason why everything was down. Now, is that the same reason why 1 in 4 Americans, 25 to 54, is not working? Is it the weather that's the problem? Is that what's really going on here? Are we really having an issue where such a high percentage of the workforce, the main part of the workforce, is unable to get work? So let's take a look at the highlighted portion. Here is a chart showing those in that age group currently employed, that's 96 million people, and those who aren't, 29 million. I'll scroll down so you can see the chart for yourself. It's pretty telling right here. And that can't be denied. It's not the weather that's the issue. And let's take a look at this, because if this really was true, what they say, that everything is just fine now, a growth of 4.6%, why then do the Federal Reserve have to come out and say this? Now, I just want to mention once again that I'm showing you the actual documentation, the actual speech from federalreserve.gov. This was on September 17th, where Janet Yellen said this. The committee also maintained its forward guidance regarding the federal funds rate target and reaffirmed its view that a highly accommodative stance on monetary policy remains appropriate. That's right. They're going to have to continue to keep interest rates low, and if they can, negative, and the real rate, of course, is negative when you factor in inflation, and this remains appropriate. Let's go down to the very end of the speech where she said this. So the story is, it's not that the Fed is behind the curve in failing to return the Fed funds rate to normal levels when the economy is recovered. It is rather that in order to achieve such a recovery in 2016, or by the end, that it's necessary and appropriate to have a somewhat more accommodative policy than would be normal in the absence of those headwinds. They're saying essentially that we're going to have to keep this up at least until 2016. And of course, they said they were going to stop it a long time ago. They said QE1 was going to be enough. They said QE2 was going to be enough. And of course, they started QE3. They're winding that down. But that doesn't mean they're not going to do a QE4. Look at the interest rates all the way down. Factoring in inflation, we're in negative territory. This is obviously something that they're trying to, get really behind us on. This is not going to work. Let's look at what I wrote about in my book, showing you the accommodative policy and the results of that. Look how high the balance sheet here, the monetary base, I should say, has gone up so dramatically just at the start of the financial crisis. So there was really not much happening up until 1971. Then you start a big swing upwards in the amount of debt they got in, but it was still a gradual increase. And then as of the year 2008, 2009, you saw this spike up like we've never seen before, and it will never come down. They say they're pulling back, but of course we know that isn't the case. Central banks around the world, all around the world, are printing up money to buy shares of the stock market publicly now, doing this in order to prop up the market. That's something that is possible because of the way the system is set up. When they're able to print money out of thin air, of course they're going to do that to prop up the system. But have no fear, because the government is there to protect you right now, saying that they are approving 220 square foot apartments. That's right. When you don't have enough money to afford a normal size living space, you're going to get this hotel room essentially, and you can live with your family of 4 in there, and everything will be just fine. That's the way they want this to happen. They continuously are making the public more and more poor when, of course, as I said before, 1 in 4 Americans, 25 to 54, are not working. Many individuals who have come out of their schooling heavily in debt are now living with their parents simply because they have no job, because they can't get anything to pay with a reasonable pay. That's just the way things are going. And let's look at this. Of course, not directly related, but I'll show you how it is. USDA, genetically modified wheat found in Montana. What I wanted to say about this is that there's actually no genetically modified wheat approved to be used. However, they're finding it again. What does that mean? It's that these big corporations aren't going to wait for you and the government and the Congress and the Parliament. They're not going to wait for you to make a decision. They're just going ahead with their plans anyway. The bankers, they're just going ahead with everything. They are the ones who lobby the politicians, who are the alumni of these corporations. They follow themselves into the government structure. They make the laws that are allowing this to happen. But the matter of fact is that they don't even need to wait for the law, because here it is again. They're finding the genetically modified wheat, and it's happening right before our very eyes. We have no control over this. So that's when I say you have your money in the system. Your money is obviously there at basically ready and willing for them to be stolen from you. If you found this informative, please give me a thumbs up. And of course, don't forget to become an insider. It's where I give out all my best stuff for free. And that is at themoneygps.com. You scroll down to the bottom and you fill in your email address and you will be hearing from me.